Hello again, my fluffs and my fuzzies. Welcome back to another FrozenOver Studios speed paint video. I have with me here today the Nerdy Rat, who will be discussing their commission regarding Pixel, the Goblin. Let's get right into it. And here we go. Hi, and welcome to another video. I have with me today the Nerdy Rat, who commissioned the speed paint that you're seeing in this video today. Welcome to the show, and how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the Nerdy Rat. I am the owner and creator of the character being drawn in the speed paint today. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you. Now, while we jump right into it, you commissioned this image from me based on a character that you originally made in the game World of Warcraft. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Alright. Would you like to tell me a little bit about what inspired you to turn this into an out-of-game character?
Well, at first, myself and my girlfriend were playing the game, and we decided to try out the Goblin starting zone, because I haven't done it in the years that I've played this game, and during the expansion of Cataclysm is when they launched these characters. So for years, I've kind of procrastinated on starting a Goblin. I wanted to see what the starting area would be like, what the story was, how it unfolded, and how they became part of the faction of the Horde. I started off playing it a little bit, and then I kind of just stopped playing it for over a year, so I kind of left Pixel more or less a dead character for a while. One day I kind of said, you know what, I kind of want to try playing my Warlock character again, because I wanted to try a different character to play, because I've been playing my Hunter Millie since the beginning of this game when I started in Wrath of the Lich King. So I took up the character again. I started playing through the rest of the starting zone, which is the Isle of Kazan, and I started enjoying it more and more, because I like the fact that, you know, Warlocks have this demonic presence, this demonic energy. They can summon demons. It was a really cool aspect to work with. When I was starting to try to do a different alt, and I was playing around and I was leveling up, I started getting a feel of story ideas. Usually when I create characters or I see a character that is of my own, I start brainstorming ideas just almost instantaneously. And eventually all these things just start firing off like neurons in the brain, and then all these ideas start coming together. And I started creating this entire little lifestyle for Pixel as I played along. And the more I was building up this storyline, I said to myself, wow, this is actually going to be a good character. So what I was trying to do with the character was I wanted to create something that was completely different from Millie. Millie has always been kind of a more reserved character, and I had very specific intentions in mind with her. This would kind of break that mold a lot more. Pixel was more open, more free. I could do a lot more with it without having all these kind of little shackle restrictions I put on Millie. And as I kept going along, like, I just came up with all these wonderful ideas, and then I finally kind of had a base idea down. You know, she would leave the island at some point, because if anybody's not aware of how the expansion of Cataclysm unfolds, there is a giant dragon named Deathwing that wreaks all sorts of havoc across Azeroth, and during the starting zone of the Goblins, Isle of Kazan, Deathwing completely annihilates it. So Pixel, being a warlock, she can kind of hear faint little whispers in the shadows. They're just like little tiny whispers in her ear, but they're very cryptic in what they say. They're not like straightforward telling her what's going to happen, but they're kind of hinting that something is about to happen. And with the people in town, there was a little bit of murmurs going on, because the big thing that started all this was the Twilight cultists were trying to wake up Deathwing, who was just in this deep slumber for the longest time. So once those two things kind of started factoring in, Pixel kind of realized, yeah, I probably should get off this island. So from there, I started just building up more and more as I went along.
Okay, so basically she figured out stuff was going to heck in a handbasket and decided to nope the heck out.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I've taken up the professions of alchemy and herbalism, which work pretty well went hand in hand. You gather herbs, you make potions out of it. Normally in the game, the big point at the end of it is you're supposed to make battle potions to help you when you're raiding. I've kind of tweaked in the fact that she sells her potions as basically a form of a job. Though on the island, all she was doing was selling the herbs. Eventually, when she realized that she needed to get the heck out of Dodge, she sold her shop, she sold more or less everything she had, and tried to barter to buy a very simple ship to get the heck off the island. From there, her big thing was she ran into an Alliance trader ship. Normally the Alliance would capture anybody Horde, but there are people on both sides of the Alliance or Horde faction that are more neutral than they are against each other, so they kindly took passage of her and allowed her to voyage with them to Booty Bay, which is a very neutral territory for both the Alliance and the Horde. It's mostly run by the Steam Weirdo cartel Goblins. It's an interesting place. The best way I could describe it is it's kind of like the Cantina in Star Wars. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
That's fantastic. Alright, so as far as outside of game, in your general usage of art with Pixel, what kind of stuff do you generally look for when thinking about getting art of this specific character?
As a general rule with most of my characters, I try to balance safe for work and not safe for work images. With the more safe for work images, I'm focusing on her being a warlock or her doing her alchemy, because I think those are the two very interesting aspects about her. Her warlock skills alone could vast God knows how many images, because there's so many different spells she has and there's so many different things she can do with it. There's lots of different kinds of activities we could make with this. Not safe for work is pretty straightforward. I think anybody knows that what you can get out of that.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. So, kind of like the image that you had me do for this speed paint, using her warlock powers to summon demons and this and that in battle is generally what you look for in anything that is deemed more or less safe for work.
Yeah, like this picture here is basically her. It's taking the basic idea of what the game shows as Pixel summoning her demon sidekick, as it is. And from there, I wanted to do a take of her just summoning this amazing demonic-like portal. So I wanted to capture this in a much more amazing and exciting way than the game does. Not that the game doesn't capture it nicely, it just I wanted a little bit more pizzazz and a little more oomph to it. Give it a more kick.
My next question for you, we've gone over the technical stuff, you know, where your inspiration came from, why you made the character in the game, and what made you decide to continue picking up the character again. But how would you describe the character personality-wise and development-wise, given what she's been through as a character? What do you think makes her tick?
Pixel's big tick is she's very sarcastic. It's one of the personality traits I like about her. I kind of gave her that kind of trait that I have. She's very sassy, she's very sarcastic about things, but her heart's in the right place. She just is a no-nonsense kind of goblin. The big thing is, if people are not really too familiar with goblins, they're kind of like, if anybody's really watched Star Trek, they're kind of like the Ferengi in the World of Warcraft world. They're all about money, they're all about creating all sorts of things that most of the time end up blowing up. In fact, the lifespan of a goblin is usually very short because usually along the way they end up blowing themselves up somewhere by doing something completely stupid because they're reckless. Pixel's not really reckless like the rest of the goblins. She is a little more careful. She takes time to make sure that she knows what she's doing, especially with her alchemy. If there's one thing in Pixel's personality, is it's probably an obsessive compulsive disorder, at least when it comes to her herbalism and her alchemy. She wants to make sure she's got the right amount of the herb, and she wants to make sure she's mixing it correctly so it doesn't blow up in her face. Of course, failures are going to happen, but she would hope that what she's doing doesn't cause that failure to be the one that just completely explodes her.
That makes sense. Now, as far as the alchemy and the magic and everything is concerned, what do you think gave her this sudden interest in developing those skills? Whereas you would see a lot of other goblins wouldn't have the energy or the mental capacity to even put toward it.
Originally, I wanted to actually do Pixel as a monk. However, goblins can't be monks, at least not currently. Because the original kind of idea I had in mind was that I wanted Pixel to be a Brewmaster monk, which is a tank spec. I'll give you the simple explanation. You're a drunk tanker. Literally. You will tank an entire raid drunk off your butt. That's the best way I can describe it. However, that could not happen. I haven't really seen what most people go to in terms of the goblin and what class they go into. I generally see a lot of warrior and hunters, but I don't see a lot of warlocks or anything else in that class. Like the mage classes I'll see every so often, but it's usually like a frost or a fire mage class as opposed to something else. I think the one I don't see very often is like a priest healer goblin.
Gee, I wonder why. Okay, so you mentioned a similarity or a parallel between Pixel as a character and goblins as a species as related to the Ferengi from Star Trek, wasn't it?
Yes.
I do recall from the Star Trek lore that the Ferengi had this certain special issue where if you touched their ears, they enjoyed it to a great extent and would basically do anything you asked them to do. Does Pixel or her goblin kind in your headcanon and lore have a similar weakness and or weird quirk about them?
Absolutely. She definitely has that, for sure. I'm glad you kind of brought that up because I'm going to be honest, I kind of tried hard to stifle a laugh just because it's funny because you're right, that's the one thing they're known for. Definitely she has that quirk, for sure.
The other thing that they're known for is a love of money and being extraordinarily greedy as far as the Ferengi from Star Trek are concerned. Now, would you say that Pixel and her species have a similar aspect about them as far as their desire for wealth and riches and eagerness to accept a bribe when it comes down to doing the easiest thing?
Goblins in general are always about money. Pixel, though, she cares about money to a degree, but it's not like her main focus. She wants money to be able to survive and live comfortably. The other goblins want to just keep making money because it's profitable. Lord knows why. That's just the way it is. Heck, if you see the leader of the Bilgewater cartel, which is Gallywix, he's a quirky little character for sure. He basically looks like really spoiled royalty. He's got like tons of jewelry on, tons of rings. Like he's blinged out. This guy's got like a gold rod with probably a 20 or 30,000 gold sapphire or some sort of gem on top of this thing. This guy acts like he's the top guy in the universe.
That could be painful under the wrong circumstances to have a rod studded with jewels.
Well, I mean, most of the other faction leaders in the Horde call him the Rat for a reason.
You totally didn't catch that.
I guess I didn't. I am now very disappointed in myself.
Son, I am disappointed.
Oh, damn it.
That was pretty great, though.
It was pretty good.
Okay, so on that tentative bit of subject matter, you did mention that there was a bit of a history with Pixel regarding a couple of years where she made some not so great life choices.
Yeah, when she arrived on Booty Bay, she was trying to find ways to make some extra gold so she can survive.
So she didn't become a pirate on the Booty Bay?
No, she unfortunately did not become a pirate on the Booty Bay. No yar for her. I mean, she probably pirated a few herbs, but I don't know about anything else. I mean, hey, sky's the limit with this universe.
Hey, you can't go wrong with a little herb and booty.
Oh, no, not at all. Since this part's probably not going to make it on here, cast crash her ass.
Damn Skippy.
So, the cartel that resides in Booty Bay is called the Steamweeder Cartel. They're a very neutral faction of goblins. They don't really care for either side. They just want to make money. They're literally the pure profiteers of the goblin universe. Pixel kind of overheard and was in conversation with a few of them, and they kind of suggested an alternative means of making gold that would be very profitable, but would probably require to make some very questionable decisions very often. Bear in mind, Pixel's not against that, but it did take her a considerable amount of time to even remotely consider it an option. She kind of had to get to a point where it was a little bit desperate for money and was not doing well selling her herbs, which I find hard to believe in a universe like that.
So she's only doing it to put herself through alchemy school.
Yeah, alchemy school, warlock school, you name it, she's doing it. Kids are putting my way through college.
Right?
So she only engages it as a part-time thing. It's not like the main thing she focuses on. Her big thing is, during those periods, is that she's balancing between that, learning to be a better warlock, learning to be a better alchemist, and she starts discovering some very off-the-book spells that she can do, or little potions that she can create. She uses them to her advantage in most ways, but it's stuff that's normally not recommended to do. But hey, it's Pixel, she's a goblin, they like to be creative. As long as she's not blowing herself up like every other goblin, I think she's fine.
And then shenanigans ensue.
Shenanigans ensue, but eventually comes to a point where her potions become more profitable than that lovely business decision she made, so she just doesn't do it as much as she used to.
But that doesn't mean she doesn't do it at all.
Well, heck no. I mean, we all have, needs.
Oh, that's fair, that's fair. Who am I to judge? You've seen my artwork.
It's fantastic artwork. Come on, people. This is a fantastic artist we're dealing with here. Hashtag buy her stuff.
Shameless plug, I swear. Okay, so before we sound like we're shilling my shit any further, let's delve a little bit more into the artistic aspect of Pixel. When you commissioned this image from me, did you have a specific vision in mind? Or did you just want to leave it mostly up to me considering I kind of took over the piece?
Sometimes what I like to do when I commission an artist a piece is not just yourself, but everyone in general, is I'll give them kind of a basic idea of what I want. If the artist is very engaging and wants to help in bringing more of the idea to life or has their own input that they think would be pretty awesome, I'm always open to that. In fact, I welcome it. But I like when, the artists are engaging and they want to be a part of the idea and they bring in your own ideas. Like, I wanted something cool with Pixel for sure. Something that really, really showed off something with her Warlock powers. I have done some simple things where she's used some of her powers with a couple of artists, but nothing where it's the starting of the battle. Because the first thing I do in battle in the game is I summon my demon. Because I need my sidekick, because they're going to have to take the attack for me first before I start throwing stuff at the enemy. So I wanted something that was really cool to show off the whole process, obviously with a lot more pizzazz than what the game showed. So I certainly love the approach that you and I we were kind of bouncing ideas off each other, and eventually we got to this, because this turned out amazing.
I am very happy to hear that you enjoyed the piece. Can you name a few things about the piece that maybe might be your most favorite things about it?
The one thing that stands out the most is that lovely ring in the portal. Man, that's a lot of power just going through it. I'm pretty sure if any person were to touch that, they would just probably turn into ashes, just instantaneously. So don't touch it. Secondly, I actually like the way you battle torn her dress. Because, yeah, the armor looks fantastic when it's nice, shiny, new looking. But Pixel goes through a lot of battles. There's got to be some wear and tear somewhere. Of course she could probably remake it, but I like the effect that it has because it shows that, she's been places. My other favorite effect is I love the way her eyes are glowing green. You can tell just by the expression and the look that she's just about ready to kick some major butt. She's just ready to go. And she's got that ball of energy ready to go. She's got everything. She's just in a battle stance. And yeah, I love the shoulders. I know they were like a big issue for you, but they look fantastic. I can't tell you how hard they are.
I did kind of fudge the design for the shoulder pads, and I left them kind of hovering above her shoulders as if suspended by magic, because the reference imagery that you gave me, both from the game and the one that was drawn, was a little confusing to the eye, and I just kind of simplified it in my brain and made it flow into the design more seamlessly than the actual reference image. And I hope you don't mind that little bit of artistic freedom. I feel like it really works with the rest of the piece.
Oh no, I absolutely don't mind it. Mind you, you're right. The shoulders are really misleading because even the in-game models are very misleading. Like, I'm looking at halftime, it looks like it's floating even in the game. That's just one of the unfortunate limitations of how the model and the outfit go together. Welcome to the World of Warcraft.
And even with the overall shape of the shoulder pads, I recall there being a bit more edge and curl to the shoulders and that they weren't quite so layered looking. But instead, I kind of went for a modified Saiyan shoulder pad armor from like Gen 1 OG Saiyan armor, and then just kind of layered it at an angle to make it look kind of like flower petals opening up, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I don't know what the WoW dev designers were doing when they created this stuff. I really don't.
And when you think about armor going into battle, you expect to have something that would protect your shoulders, your collarbone, and your neck, right? So making it a rigid, layered piece like that gives a sense of actually offering some sort of protection, while at the same time going along with the aesthetic that you want to see with such a sorceress warlock kind of character.
You never know when you're going to need that shoulder to take a hit for you. You never know.
Absolutely. So, as far as the execution of the art, is there anything that you feel like could have been done better?
I can't really see anything specifically that could have been done better. I imagine if I stared at the image for like an hour straight, I might be able to point out something, but realistically speaking, if it's a minor thing, I don't really care. Minor stuff is not a huge thing. My bigger thing that would be, something that's kind of a bad thing towards the characters if something is completely wrong. No, everything in this piece looks pretty much on par with what the character is, what the reference sheet is. I really have no complaints. I have nothing that I dislike about this image. Heck, I even like the little eyes that are just kind of like peering out of the portal. I'm like, I'm ready. Actually, I think it might be a deeper voice, but...
I figured you might catch that. Now, as far as the piece itself goes, I know you mentioned that you enjoyed everything about the piece. Do you feel like I captured the personality and the attitude that would be shown by Pixel during those particular battles? Like, if she's about to throw a huge attack at somebody or she's getting ready to really mess someone up, do you feel like I captured the essence of what you were looking for in this piece?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the character traits I kind of didn't get to mention earlier because I kind of forgot to mention it. Pixel, when she's in battle, is a little crazy. By a little, I mean a lot. Like, she's just a little nuts. So, like I said, the expression she captures is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to wreck your world. And yeah, that captured it perfectly. Because once she starts getting into battle, she's just going to throw every demonic attack she's got at you.
That's fantastic. So the wicked grin rather than a look of anger or a battle cry or something like that fits more with the character, in your opinion.
Absolutely. Actually, I was just noticing this one little thing as I'm staring at the image. Her hair and the color and the way it goes up kind of looks like in the old school Broly movie before you finally see that green hair kind of Super Saiyan style. I'm like, yeah, that looks about right. That's the kind of crazy we're looking for. We need Broly crazy right now. Pixel's like Broly crazy. Yeah, it actually does capture it really well because the only thing that could go from this or that could be added to that is if she was just cackling like a maniac.
I mean, maybe in another image?
Hey, who knows?
Alright, now is there anything else that you'd like to say or have a word about before we wrap things up?
I think that pretty much sums it up. Like, Pixel's, I'm still really developing her. As I go along and I play more of the game and I kind of brainstorm more, there's still more things. But at this point, I got more or less the basic and kind of advanced idea down of what she is. But obviously, I'm going to have more come along. Like, eventually, I'm pretty sure I'm going to tweak a few things here and there to where they fit. I mean, heck, it took me 8 years to develop Millie, and even she's not fully developed yet. So that gives you an idea of how much care I put into trying to getting the characters just to the way I like them.
And that kind of development really helps you grow a sentimental attachment with the character and end up in a position where you kind of relate with them to some extent. Like, they become their own thing that you kind of interact with in your brain meets.
Yeah, like, I like to develop a story. I like to develop a character. I want, like, a universe. It's probably part of the reason why nothing ever gets done when I'm trying to do any ideas, because eventually my ideas become so expansive that I don't know where to start and I don't know where to end and I don't know where to put the shackles so I keep it intact. In fact, I can't find the box. Do you know where the box to my ideas are? Because I think I lost my boundaries. But yeah, the big thing is, you know, I like developing a character. I think it's, like, I can't draw, like my girlfriend can draw. I can't draw. I find this to be, like, my form of creativity, my art. My brainstorming is like my art piece. At most, the only way I can do any art is the little etch-a-sketch that's just in my head coming up with ideas.
And even then, you know, character development and world building and things of that nature are a form of self-expression and a way for you to have a creative outlet. And there's no way of seeing that less as art than any other genre or form of artistic expression, because the idea of art in general is so amorphous and relative and symbolic in people's minds that anything can be art at this point.
Yeah, and when you're creating a character that's within a specific universe or a specific game universe or a book universe, you know, it's cool to try to come up with something that fits within the boundaries of that universe. So that's one tier of creativity you can work with, because at least you now have something, you have some borders to work with, and you're like, okay, I can fit this character inside this little box here. The one vast thing is when you're creating your own thing from scratch, that's where you can just go into the infinite possibilities. And I think that's something that people should try exploring more often, because they might actually grow much closer to their characters.
Well, I may make an entire video on this at some point, but I feel like when it comes to character development, the last part you want to do is figure out what they look like. You want to build their personality and their backstory and their experiences first, and then shape their appearance around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good approach to start with.
And I may discuss that again in a future video, but I do feel like that's the way it should be, and you shouldn't just grab a character you think looks pretty and then try to use a crowbar and force a story on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a topic that I'm kind of passionate about, among the other many topics I'm passionate about.
Well, thank you for appearing for this interview. Thank you for ordering this piece. It was a lot of fun to work on, and I do hope to work with you more in the future.
thank you for having me on, and yes, thank you very much for this amazing piece. Like, I literally started breaking into tears when I got this, because it's not often I see artists put so much love, dedication, and care into an image, and it's kind of that's one of the minor things that makes me sad, is that people don't really do that anymore, and I don't know why, but yeah, this piece was amazing, and of course I'll order from you again.
I appreciate that, and I am genuinely happy to hear that you enjoyed the piece and that it means so much to you, because that's why I do what I do and why I enjoy making these videos as well, because it gives me a chance to really delve into the story building and the emotional attachment behind these characters that people have me draw. So again, I appreciate you allowing me to do this video and to do this piece of art for you, and I do hope you have a lovely evening.
You too, thank you very much.
And there you have it, folks. That was the Nerdy Rat, and that was their discussion about their Goblin Pixel. Seems like a pretty interesting character and was definitely a lot of fun to draw. I really enjoyed experimenting with the cell shading on this one and making the flame effects and the magic portal and everything from behind her was a real learning experience when it comes down to it, and I genuinely hope I get to do some more magic user stuff that will test my skills like this one did. In the meantime, I do have for you a special treat today. I have my editor, Mitch, who is going to close us out today with his question of the week, because I know nothing about video games. Haha. So, here you go, Mitch. Enjoy.
Hello Fluffies, Mitch here, bringing you today's question of the week. During my time on the interwebs, I've played my fair share of MMOs and amassed quite a handful of favourite characters. So today I ask, whom's your favourite character and why? Leave your answer in the comments below, and you will have a chance to be featured on the next video. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Until next time guys, see ya!